The announcement was made, I think, the previous day or whenever it was on the radio. Of course, radio, you know, you didn't have television. And Churchill spoke in his booming tone.
This is London. The Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Winston Churchill.
Hostilities will end officially at 1 minute after midnight tonight, Tuesday, the 8th of May. The German war is therefore at an end. We may allow ourselves a brief period of rejoicing. Today is Victory in Europe Day.
Going to school as usual and coming home lunchtime to find my mother had hung a Union Jack out the window. We got home and were told the war had actually finished, because everybody knew it was going to end, you know, because we were charging through Germany at a vast rate of knots. But it wasn't until that lunchtime from school that we heard for sure.
At the time of VE Day, there was nearly every area at a street party.
We were told we could wear fancy dress when we went back to school. They wouldn't even give us the afternoon off. And there was a street party, but I think that was a couple of days later on the bomb site opposite.
I was around in the coronation. I was around at the Jubilee, and all these things were organised. But for VE Day, it happened so quickly, things were not organised so well. I could remember stopping on a bridge going over a railway, and the people there, they were singing and dancing. They even managed to get a piano outside.
I always remember the one we had in Pearl Street, where I lived. Somebody somehow managed to get their piano out of their front room. And front rooms were sacred places in those days, you know.
As I looked over the side and I could hear them singing and see them singing and dancing, I realised it was the same song that everybody all day long was singing. And I didn't know the song, but by the time I reached home, I learned the song.
Got to accentuate the positive feeling, minus to negative, latch on to the affirmative, don't mess with Mr. In Between.
And I realised they were singing at the centre, they were singing it on the Downs, they were singing it in every street party. So I suppose this, because it was a change, a complete change of life for everyone, for every family, and they were thinking of the positives, forget about the negatives, think of the positives and all the new things that were going to happen.
And my own father, much to his own surprise, and I think he probably always regretted doing this, he had one of the old wind-up gramophones and the old sort of, the old-fashioned 78 type of records, and he allowed this to be taken out into our front garden.
As you can see by this photograph, there's a heck of a lot of people in my street I didn't know existed, really. We all moved back and we had tables and everybody brought out their own food. Like, some sandwiches, paste sandwiches, I should imagine, you know, and some jam tarts and things.
I remember sausage rolls. Now that's the one thing I can seriously remember. I suspect it was quite a limited fare because of course there was rationing. But I suppose people had sort of somehow either hoarded stuff or pilfered stuff and got stuff from somewhere. And of course jellies and blancmange. Jellies and blancmange was the great thing, you know. If you're ever going to have any sort of celebration involved food, it had to be sort of jelly and blancmange. And if presumably if you didn't like jelly and blancmange, you starved.
Ordinary playing cards, but they're made of cardboard, not pasteboard, because there was a war on. The flags are making the V for victory, as are the planes. Victory Europe was a good point, but it wasn't the end of the war. It was several months before the full war ended.
Of course, then we thought war was a thing of the past. We've learnt differently, but at that time, life seemed great, and life seemed as though there was going to be opening and good things was going to happen.
Where relationships had been quite stable, suddenly they were no more. The number of youngsters at school, in fact, who suddenly found they were living with new uncles and all that sort of stuff. You know, I think there was a very eating into this whole fabric of, you know, what people had seen as a pretty solid sort of society. And I think what had been normal life, I suspect it never, in many cases, never sort of became the norm again.